the Warriors learn some of that split action that they run offensively and bring it to your own team. Folks, the name is Kenny Atkinson. Every time there is a job with a young core that needs to take the next step, I always think of Kenny Atkinson.
Only on SportsGrid.
The numbers might look crazy, especially depending on where you think Jared Goff falls in the National Football League. I would consider him, maybe as crazy as this sounds, a top 10 quarterback.
And again, the theory behind paying your quarterbacks and your top-rated players, pay them earlier. The longer you wait, it only costs you money. If you have a top-flight wide receiver, pay him here.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
That was Aaron Rodgers' thing. Took a quarterback in the first round.
Yeah.
It's a luxury pick. We don't have the luxury. We're trying to win right now. I'm in a window right now, and you're going to say, no, we're going to plan this for the future. With a guy who had 4 seasons ended by injury. 4. Like, Michael Penix is a walking injury. Like, what are you doing taking him in the top 10?
The Bostonian versus the Book.
Using the parlays against one another, right, and being able to get a little bit of juice consig, I found to be a little interesting.
Believe me, all the rhombuses and parallelograms are constantly trying to search and find out those things every day. It's one of the battles that you use, as you expand the menu, you encounter new battles.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Good morning. Welcome to NewsWire here on SportsGrid, your midweek edition here on the SportsGrid Network. Great to be back with you here on the program. Hope everyone's off to a great start this morning. We got plenty of news, notes, information to get to you here on the show. Matthew Waters will join us from Legal Sports Report. We'll talk about the latest in earnings calls, how the taxes on some of these sports betting operators could potentially affect the stock market. We'll discuss that. Also, Simon Applebaum will be with us as we'll discuss the very latest in ratings in television and sports as well. And there's a very big story percolating here with the National Basketball Association. Some of the rumors that we have heard indeed coming to fruition. Also, Kyle Irving breaks down the NBA Finals. Folks, the NBA Finals finally begins tomorrow. Hockey doesn't even begin until the weekend. Guys, let's get it together here. Is this like a Super Bowl? We have to wait like 3 weeks until we get these games started? I don't know. But at the top of the show here today, we start off with a lot of sports wagering stories involving professional athletes. And at least the first one seems to have come to a close. At least the statements from Shohei Ohtani and the Los Angeles Dodgers seem to indicate that Ohtani's former translator, Ippei Mizuhara, is now going to go away for a period of time. And when I say go away, it's probably jail. A maximum sentence pleading guilty to a total of 33 years for Mitsuhara, taking millions and millions and millions of dollars from his buddy and the guy that he worked for, essentially, and Shohei Ohtani. Very sad story coming to an end. Now, good story that they got this taken care of and we don't have to deal with it going into the summer. But naturally, these two were just, attached to the hip. And somehow Mitsuhara found a way to gamble $142 million of Ohtani's money, just basically taking money from his accounts and wiring it all over the world. Mitsuhara is going to jail. Ohtani is moving on with the Los Angeles Dodgers. At least that's from the statements that I read yesterday. Okay, so the NBA on NBC is indeed coming back. So John Tesh, get the music ready. Looks like they're closing in on the deal. Here's what it looks like. $76 billion in media revenue over 11 years. B with a billion. Yep, that's true. ESPN 2.6, NBC 2.5. Amazon's involved too at 1.8, increasing the annual fees by 250%. No mention of the Turner Sports Network. So that will be the next shoe to drop, so to speak. We'll figure out what happens to inside the NBA. Many have speculated that Charles Barkley could potentially leave, end up at NBC. We'll see. I mean, this is still a story that is not complete, but we'll find out in the future. Meanwhile, what about this latest story here? Now, this is sort of incredible here. You're going to have to follow along here. There is a gentleman by the name of Long Phi Pham, 38 years old, a.k.a. they called him Bruce, who was arrested Monday at JFK Airport as he allegedly booked a one-way ticket to Australia. And the reason why he's going through all of these hoops to jump is because this goes back to the Jonte Porter story, how Porter was essentially betting on his own props and banned from the National Basketball Association. This gentleman named Pham, Long Phi Pham, was helping him do so. Now, in the documents that they found with this gentleman named Pham, they amassed significant gambling debts. The document says that one of the people still at large encouraged Porter to clear the debts by withdrawing certain games prematurely to ensure that the under on his prop bets were successful. Now, again, this is just a guy with a bag of cash trying to get out of the country as fast as he can. They basically told this guy, hey, pay back some stuff, turn yourself in. He didn't want to do it. You see the stuff in the movies every day where the police find the guy with the bag and the money. And I think he had a money order for $80,000, if I'm not mistaken as well. I don't know how far that goes in Australia, but it's going nowhere. He was arrested. Okay, on to greener pastures we go. The new Los Angeles Lakers head coach looks like it's going to be J.J. Redick. He's at least being called the front runner, according to The Athletic. Search has been focused on two candidates, Redick and James Borrego, over the last couple of weeks. And again, nothing future here. There is a relationship with Redick and LeBron James, so there's some speculation, as you see there, that is the reason why this is getting done. To be honest with you, if that's the relationship and that's what gets it done, so be it. It's LeBron James. Hire whoever you want. Okay, Gino Auriemma, arguably one of the best, if not the best, college basketball coaches of all time. Of course, coaching the Women Huskies, 5-year deal through 2029, $3.4 million on the contract extension, $18.7 million in total. That makes him the highest basketball coach in the country. Jumping over Kim Mulkey over at LSU. She makes $3.2 million. How about the saga and drama in the WNBA? Say it ain't so. Angel Reese ejected in last night's game against New York Liberty. 5th personal foul with 2.31 left in the game, then called for 2 technical fouls by the same official, Charles Watson. There are some on social media saying that she didn't deserve to be thrown out. Regardless, she was, and more drama in the WNBA than I could ever remember. And some of it surrounding Caitlin Clark. We'll get to that a little bit later in the show. Also, the officiating crew has been announced in the NBA. Not sure what you make of this, but Scott Foster is back working the finals along with Tony Brothers, Mark Davis, and James Capers. They're among the officials that will take care of the Boston Celtics and Dallas Mavericks. Will Kristaps Porzingis play in this 7-game series? Potentially. It looks like he will. Porzingis at shoot-around yesterday was asked how healthy he is going into the championship series.
How you doing, guys? Good question. I don't know. We'll see. Have a couple more days. And done a lot of work up until this point. And I've done everything needed to get back into shape. Playing shape. We'll see on the night.
All right. Well, Porzingis not showing his cards just yet. You get the feeling he's going to play. Boston, if I'm not mistaken, on the FanDuel Sportsbook, 6.5-point favorites in Game 1 against the Dallas Mavericks. In baseball last night, the Yankees keep rolling. Luis Gil has been fantastic. They beat the Twins 5-1 yesterday. Yankees in first place, best record in the American League. Tyler Glasnow of the Los Angeles Dodgers. They got him in the offseason. He now has 100 strikeouts on the season. He's the first Dodger to be the first pitcher to reach that mark in a season since Clayton Kershaw in 2016. So he reaches 100 strikeouts in June. Fastest pitcher to do so since 2016. The Houston Astros have a release that just came out about 30 minutes ago. Christian Javier going to have elbow surgery. Sounds like Tommy John going to miss the season, as well as Jose Urquidy. Both guys in their starting rotation to open up the season. Both looks like out for the year. First game of baseball today will start at 1:35 Eastern time. The Braves and Boston Red Sox. In the National Football League, a contract extension, another bar set for Christian McCaffrey. He signs a 2-year extension with the 49ers. It's worth $19 million. He'll also receive an additional $8 million over what he was scheduled to make in the first 2 years, adding to $24 million in guarantees. Novak Djokovic, of course, out of the French Open, may not play in Wimbledon after undergoing surgery on his torn meniscus. Wimbledon begins July 1st, so it's a race against the clock there. Stars Joe Pavelski retires after 18 seasons. They reached the Stanley Cup final in his first season when they lost to the Tampa Bay Lightning a long time ago. Also, Brandon Ayuk of the San Francisco 49ers did not show up for the start of minicamp, looking for a new contract. His teammate Deebo Samuel says, don't take it personal.
What kind of advice are you giving to Brandon during this time?
Much as I can, actually. I know this is a stressful time, and he's done a tremendous job throughout his career here. And when it comes to things like this, it get tough, and some things you kind of take personal, and it's just like overall, it's just a stressful process, to be honest with you.
All right, we'll see if Ayuk gets extended. The good news is that a coach has been extended in the NFL, as ESPN reported a short time ago, that Kevin Stefanski and their general manager in Cleveland have been given a new contract. Of course, Cleveland, a fantastic 2023 NFL season, so well-deserved there. All right, we'll take a quick time out here on the show. More to come, so stay with us here on The Grid. We'll be right back.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Chicago is one of the top media markets in the country, so it makes some sense. But I got to tell you, Philadelphia, not far behind. Cleveland, Ohio, not far behind. I would guess that precedent is now set.
They now would be paying, based on the last 12 months numbers, they'd be paying an additional $81.6 million in taxes.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. We got Matt Lutovsky in the house to sort of parse through all of the different stories that we've had over the last 24, 48 hours as far as some of these indiscretions in Major League Baseball, see how they potentially affect the future. Also, this funny story, honestly a funny story in the NBA, I think. I don't know, maybe you guys don't think so. Let's bring in Matt. We'll get his certainly opinion on some of these. Matt, let's start with the Shohei Ohtani story. it is now over. I got a statement in my email yesterday out of nowhere from one of Ohtani's representatives, so I'm assuming that's it. Dodgers released a statement too. What's crazy to me, Matt, we have seen so many other stories and so many other investigations take years. How in the world did they get this open and shut in 2 months?
Yeah, that's a great question. I remember when this was originally developing, and I thought, man, this is going to be basically what you said. This is going to go on for a while. We're going to get twists, turns. He said, and here we are, early June, case closed. Nothing to see here. Moving on. Stop asking questions. Stop looking into this. And I mean, it sounds like it is. Certainly, with he plead guilty, and it seems like that's that. Major League Baseball's concluded. Shohei had nothing to do with it. I still think there might be more we find out here and there, some drips and drops. But yeah, it's pretty crazy, and especially when you look at the sheer amount of bets he put into play, and his wins and his losses are staggering. And you just think, well, at some point, Shohei Ohtani had to know something was up, even if someone else was managing his money. And this guy was very good at developing his, sneaky plan, but apparently not. And apparently this is what went down. And I guess we're all going to move on because, the Dodgers told us to move on. Major League Baseball told us to move on. The courts told us to move on. And I guess the good news is we have enough other cases to move on to, because it seems like there's a new one every day, at least when it comes to betting indiscretions by a professional athlete.
Yeah, I mean, we sort of see it the same way here. And, to me, as I've said on the early line this morning, and I've said constantly, on any level in this day and age of technology and whatever banking app you use, to think that Ohtani would never log on to his app to see that $500,000 was removed from his account, and then it happened again. It happened again, and I had no idea. I don't know.
Or get an alert, something.
No alert.
No
you set the alert. All right, let's set it to over 599,000. That's the only thing I'm interested in. When that goes, then tell me. So I know we're being cynical here, but you and I see it the same way. Okay, so speaking of cynical, the way that a lot of people are viewing this player that is now banned for life, Tucupita Marcano, the cynical comments are, this guy won 4% of his bets. Like, what is he doing? He threw his whole baseball career away to be a horrible gambler. My gosh, this is just, I mean, to me, that's a bigger story, I think, for some of these players out there. You even had access to sort of know what your team potentially could throw out there in terms of a starting lineup every day and pitchers and maybe who's available and all that. And you still couldn't even win. So why do this? I don't get why this keeps happening, Matt.
Yeah, I know. And it's like you want to see the bets at that point. Was he just betting on crazy things? Was he going for wild parlays and just going, for something big, trying to strike it rich on one big bet? I don't know. I am fascinated by it because you originally hear the story, you go, okay, guy bet on baseball. That's not cool. Don't do that. But you at least kind of get it. You're in the sport. You're not playing. He's on the DL. He's going to make some bets. He thinks he has insider knowledge. And then you see that winning percentage and you're like, are you kidding me? I could do better than that. What's going on here? So it's a very strange story. And, I almost feel bad for him because he didn't put that much money into play, at least comparatively to some other stories we've heard. And he didn't do well. And like you said, he threw away. I don't know how much longer his career had, at least at the major league level. But nonetheless, he was a young guy. And to see this is just kind of unfortunate and foolish. And it just leads to more questions. I think I want to see these bets. I want to know what he was betting on because staggeringly low winning percentage.
Yeah, it's not even the word for it. Under 10%. I mean, you're right. He probably was betting 25-1 that 20 runs are scored tonight. And he did it every day. It was the only thing I could come up with there. All right, so we've seen stuff like this in the movies. Guy trying to leave the country, get out of town, got to pay some people back. I'm being accused of something. I think that this guy who was helping Jonte Porter, allegedly, on some of his wagers, must have caught wind that they were coming after him. There's no other reason, Matt, for this guy to get caught. Whether or not he was on a list of some kind still remains to be seen. I don't know if they were trying to find him, but you don't go to the airport with a duffel bag of cash and a one-way ticket unless you plan on never coming back, correct?
Yeah, I would think so. The 3 cell phones, that's always a tip off. Anytime people have a lot of devices, and it's just a weird story for sure. And it's just one of those things. I think you said it before. It's like you see in the movies, and I think we're at the stage in the movie where the investigators are trying to get someone to flip on the other person, and it just feels like that's where we're at. But I was reading a little more into that story, and in the cell phone messages there in the text, they had, I think it was Jonte Porter who said, "Hey, is this going to be one of those RICO things?" And I was like, well, that's not what criminals do. You don't text each other the actual name of the crime and put it out there in print. So yeah, this wasn't a great situation for everyone involved. And that was another situation where you just go, man, I know Jonte Porter wasn't that good, but you just threw away your whole career. And at least though he amassed some pretty sizable debts. And you think, oh, just ask your brother. He just signed $100 and some million contract, but it didn't quite work that way.
No, too proud to ask, I guess. We got a minute left. Do you think Brandon Ayuk gets extended? Do you think that ends up happening, Matt? He's like sort of in that not the top, not the bottom category.
Yeah, I think he wants big money, and the 49ers let a bunch of other receivers sign for a good amount of money. It's a little weird to me that they are re-upping a lot of guys before they take care of him. But yeah, I think this one's going to play out for a while, and we'll see where it's at by closer to the end of summer.
All right, Matt, great to see you. Thanks for coming on.
All right, thank you.
All right, we'll be right back, and we've got the SportsGrid sound off. Don't go away.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Chicago is one of the top media markets in the country, so it makes some sense. But I got to tell you, Philadelphia, not far behind. Cleveland, Ohio, not far behind. I would guess that precedent is now set.
They now would be paying, based on the last 12 months numbers, they'd be paying an additional $81.6 million in taxes.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. The National Football League still has a few months before it officially kicks off. We're getting close to like the 75-day mark pretty soon. I think we'll be there next week or the week after. And, naturally, there's been a lot of discussion as to some of the things that happened in the offseason, very specifically a trade-off in a division. You don't see this that often, but Saquon Barkley goes from the Giants to the Eagles, and that has only made this rivalry a little bit more deeper. In fact, Nick Sirianni, the head coach of the Philadelphia Phillies, had some interesting comments at his OTA press conferences talking about how sometimes he sees Giants fans and is sort of razzing them and saying different things to them on the streets. Take a listen.
Man, Saquon, it's really nice to see him in green, and I know, it's really nice to see him there. Like we missed the tackle on him the other day on the sideline. Now we're not tackling, but you can tell without pads on, you can tell if that guy made the tackle or not. And I had visions back of like him on the sideline and us watching all these plays on the sideline of Saquon making somebody miss and Saquon making somebody miss and doing it again. And it was like, it brought me back to that. And like, man, I'm glad that I wasn't happy that our defensive player missed the tackle on this particular one, but I'm really happy that Saquon, that number 26, is on our side, making the guy miss. Sometimes you see Giants fans around here with the, being so close. They give me a good, like, hey, go Giants. And I'd typically let it go. But if the guy gets me good enough, I usually say, got your best player.
It's funny. I mean, the way that these coaches have to sort of deal with the fans on a daily basis, and Sirianni's all in on Philly, right? You see him wearing the Phillies hat and, naturally, wants to be a part of this thing long term. But there's going to be some discussion and some fun going back and forth with Giants and Philly fans this year. No doubt about that. All right, we're also getting closer to the college football season. That's coming up real soon. And our own Ben Stevens has an early look at the Heisman Trophy Award winner, including one quarterback at Mississippi.
As we get ready for the 2024 college football season, a Heisman Trophy history lesson for all of you. In the 10 years of the 4-team format of the college football playoff, 8 of the 10 Heisman Trophy winners played the quarterback position. 7 of the 10 led their team to a conference championship game appearance or a spot in the college football playoff. So following that fashion, 2 names to know for 2024. At 15-1, Ole Miss's quarterback Jackson Dart. The Runnin' Rebs favored to reach the college football playoff this upcoming season at a -124 price, and the offensive numbers are always going to be there in a Lane Kiffin Runnin' Rebs offense. A name a little bit further down the board, 25-1, Avery Johnson, the quarterback for Kansas State. K-State should be in the running for a Big 12 championship game appearance. And last year, in only 8 games as a true freshman, Avery Johnson threw for 5 touchdowns and ran for 7, a dynamic athlete at the quarterback position.
Thanks, Ben. And a lot of the Heisman Trophy winners these days, I mean, part of it is being able to run as a quarterback. And indeed, some of the players that we're going to hear about may have that. The other thing that's interesting about the Heisman, for those of you who are looking at the early futures odds, the last couple of years, the Heisman Trophy Award preseason favorite hasn't really translated into the player that's actually won it. We'll keep an eye on that as we get closer. Meanwhile, the Chicago Bears are getting ready for another season in the NFL, as everyone else is. They have a new quarterback, of course, Caleb Williams, the number 1 overall pick. And you talk about a player being competitive. Well, their tight end in Cole Kmet learned that the hard way, and it wasn't on the football field. Take a listen.
Since what's been your impression of him?
Yeah, I mean, just getting to know him as a person. You don't really know somebody until you meet him, and getting to know him over the past couple months now has been pretty fun, and you realize how competitive he is. We went to Top Golf the other night, and they were going to close, but he had to finish the game. So we were there till about 1 a.m, finishing the game.
That end, when you talk about who won at Top Golf?
I did. That's why we were there all night.
Was it? Did he want to keep playing?
Yeah. Then they were like, "You guys it's 1 a.m. We got to get out of here." So they shut off the game, and his team was up, and then we couldn't get the points loaded back on because it was already too late. Ended up getting it back on somehow. And then I beat him. So.
And a lot of times these guys are playing like ping pong and pickleball, and you could just see how the competitive nature in these athletes comes out. Doesn't matter when or where it is. Great stuff there from Cole Kmet. All right, coming up next, Matthew Waters joins us from Legal Sports Report. We've got the very latest on Penn Entertainment and a stock market update on some of the other sports betting providers as well. We'll be back with more NewsWire right after this.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York team has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Chicago is one of the top media markets in the country, so it makes some sense. But I got to tell you, Philadelphia, not far behind. Cleveland, Ohio, not far behind. I would guess that precedent is now set.
They now would be paying, based on the last 12 months numbers, they'd be paying an additional $81.6 million in taxes.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Our guest contributor from Legal Sports Report today is Matthew Waters. He joins us now here on the show. We got some investor news and some stock news on the different companies and how the tax rate in Illinois has affected some of it, maybe surprising some numbers for you as well. Let's bring in Matt. Matt, great to catch up with you here again. Let's get started with Penn Entertainment, a company that has certainly changed hands, to say the least, over the last year or so. Let's get the latest update from you. How are they doing?
You know, Penn has not been doing terrific, Craig. We've talked at length about their international or their interactive losses, and they finally had a shareholder come out and write a letter that really took them to task for it. It was the Dunrail Group is the name of the investor, and Will Wyatt, he's a managing partner, and he penned the letter. And after the letter came out, Penn's stock price jumped 20% on Friday, Craig. It traded at almost 4 times its average trading volume. So basically the market got behind this and said, yeah, that's what we're trying to say. And what Wyatt said was basically Penn has failed at sports betting. In so many words, that's what it came down to. And he highlighted the purchase of Barstool and how even though, you know, about a year into it, it was clear that this wasn't going the way that they thought it would, they still went through and bought the rest of Barstool, and then months later turned it around and sold it back to Portnoy for $1 that cost them like $800 million around there. Non-cash impairments, of course, but it's still on your balance sheet. It's still not what you want to do. It's still not great business to have your acquisitions turn up like that. Then he mentioned The Score. And if you remember The Score, they are a sports media outlet bigger than SportsCenter and ESPN in Canada, but they spent $2.1 billion on The Score, Craig, and The Score didn't have the numbers to support that kind of purchase price at the time. And now we're on to ESPN Bet, and ESPN Bet has already lost like a lot more than Penn guided to. And so you have this situation where Penn, before they got into this interactive business, they have a portfolio of more than 40 retail casinos. And they know what they're doing in the retail casino place. They have a good loyalty program. They know how to run those local casinos, and that is being completely overshadowed by the substantial losses they are now facing from Interactive. And Wyatt basically said, when is this going to end? He even questioned if the acquisition of the score, which Penn had said was for their technology, if that was necessary. And he said, quote, had a digitally native and more experienced leadership been at the helm, shareholders have to wonder if this could have been done in a more cost-effective manner from the onset. And then he jumps into taking some shots at how much CEO Jay Snowden has made, which is almost $100 million over the past 4 years. And he's basically saying, for what? Why is he getting this kind of compensation? So it's interesting right now. Basically, it came down to them saying Wyatt suggested potentially selling that portfolio of retail casinos. I don't know how many buyers there are out there right now for 40 land-based casinos, Craig. That's not something that you just decide to do. So Penn is going to remain an interesting story through the football season, right? We know that they're waiting for the parlays to improve. We know that they're working on a whole bunch of stuff right now. So we need to see some kind of turnaround quickly from Penn on these interactive losses if they want the stock price to not be sincerely and severely impacted by that. But the market absolutely loved what Will Wyatt had to say.
Yeah, it's fascinating conversation for all of the sports books, and in particular the stock prices. I guess they do get affected when the tax rate goes up, as we're finding out with FanDuel and DraftKings, and I want to get into that here a little bit more. I know that there's a CFO transition going on at FanDuel as well, and on top of it, how did the news last week that came in that Illinois was raising the tax rate on sports books to 40%, how did that affect the stock market and their prices?
Yeah, obviously they dipped. It's not good news when you see that your tax rate is going to go up that much. And the shares started to dip on DraftKings and FanDuel even before it was certain that it was happening. The Senate basically made the move, and the market said, okay, that's it, it's happening, and they started to take the hit from there. But we've gotten a couple of analyst notes since then that are suggesting that the hit will not be as big as maybe it seems right now, and there are different ways to mitigate that. These guys are good at cutting costs where they need to and trying to make money. And I think without leaving Illinois, they're going to be able to figure it out. And one note specifically from Barry Jonas of Truist, he does a look each month at what's going on in iGaming in the U.S., and he came out with a ranking system on sports betting operators. And tier 1 was DraftKings and FanDuel naturally. Mm-hmm. And then he skipped tier 2 and went to tier 3, which is BetMGM, Caesars, and ESPN Bet. And he said, note that we skipped tier 2. We don't think any operator in the space qualifies for that standing with how much white space there is between DraftKings and FanDuel and the rest of the field. Yeah, it is interesting because at some point that should change, right? And Barry got into that because when you look at BetMGM, when you look at Caesars, when you look at ESPN Bet, they have those retail database, player databases. And so at some point when all of the technology should finally be on a level playing field, that's when Barry said, we could start to see some of that share shift. And maybe there would be more of a legitimate tier 2. Maybe there could be somebody coming in to challenge that tier 1. I thought it was interesting to add ESPN Bet into that third tier, piggybacking off of what we just spoke about. But there is still so much potential for ESPN Bet, Craig. ESPN has been bragging about just how they've been crushing it in digital recently. They had 24.7 million visitors on the ESPN app in April. They are adding all of these people and places, and their social platforms saw like 184.9 million users. And they have under 700,000 active bettors right now on ESPN Bet. So there is still a lot of potential to grow for ESPN Bet as long as they nail that integration. I can't even guess how many times I've said that now. They have to nail that integration. As far as FanDuel with the CFO transfer, the timing was a little interesting because they listed in New York back in January, and then on May 31st, they made that their primary listing instead of the London listing. And in that release, they also said, oh, by the way, our CFO, he can't come to America with us. He has family back there. So effective immediately, there's a new CFO. And that was, the timing was strange. I think personally that could have been presented in a different way. But overall, that shouldn't be too crazy. The gentleman is coming from within Flutter already. So he's familiar with the landscape. Shouldn't be that big of a hit. But yeah, we are still watching to see what exactly these stocks are going to do when the higher tax rates kick in.
Yeah, and I think that the conversation, my takeaway from you, Matt, is maybe a little different than some others. I don't know that there ever will be a tier 2 in the sports betting space. I don't think there's a guarantee of that actually happening. If you just think about other commercial operators in non-sports betting venues, it may just be the case that FanDuel and DraftKings just dominate forever. Anyway, great to see you, Matt. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Chicago is one of the top media markets in the country, so it makes some sense. But I gotta tell you, Philadelphia, not far behind. Cleveland, Ohio, not far behind. I would guess that precedent is now set.
They now would be paying, based on the last 12 months numbers, they'd be paying an additional $81.6 million in taxes.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. We've got the NBA Finals set to go tomorrow night. We've got the Stanley Cup Finals on Saturday. We're going to dive into that and the rest in the media landscape with Simon Applebaum, who's on the show today. Of the podcast tomorrow will be televised. Simon appears weekly here on the show. We also have some very big news, Simon, to start off with in the National Basketball Association. I think some people will be excited. Especially those like you and me of the older variety that used to watch the NBA on NBC. I think will be some younger folks who are not excited because inside the NBA, Charles Barkley, Kenny Smith sort of hangs in the balance. It's a great place to start. How are you?
Very, very fine, Craig. And yes, you can't do any better than what we're about to deep dive into, which is, if you didn't hear the first half of the show, it looks like the NBA is very, very close to finalizing a $76 billion, 11-year media rights contract where Warner Bros. Discovery, TNT, is out as a carrier of NBA games, including the conference final, starting next year. It's going to be, it looks like, ESPN ABC stays on, NBC comes back as a partner, and Amazon comes in through Prime Video as a partner. The breakdown is, at least as far as we know right now, $2.6 billion at ESPN ABC will pay a year through Walt Disney. NBC and Peacock, $2.5 billion. Amazon, $1.8 billion. Now, without knowing the particulars yet, and there has been no formal announcement as we speak from the NBA, here's what looks like is going to happen. ESPN ABC will probably retain all it's doing right now. They will have the NBA Finals on ABC. They'll have a conference final, playoff games, regular season games, etc. When it comes to NBC and Peacock, it looks like they will get the conference final that TNT currently has. That's why it looks like they'll pay $2.5 billion a year, plus regular season games, plus playoff games. What looks like Amazon is going to pay for, with $1.8 billion, is going to be the in-season tournament, the NBA All-Star Saturday and the NBA All-Star game that TNT currently has, and maybe playoff games, and maybe some special games as well. It's going to be interesting to see. Now, there's a lot of questions that need to be answered when this deal is done. First of all, when it comes to ESPN and ABC, given the fact that ESPN is very much set on launching a new mega content version of their service, will they get exclusive games on this mega content service? And given ESPN Bet, which we talked about in the previous segment with Matthew, given the sports betting landscape a year from now, will the NBA allow ESPN Bet to allow viewers, depending on where they are and when they're allowed to place bets live on the television set with these games? Same thing with Peacock, with NBC Universal. How many games will Peacock have at an exclusive basis? And when it comes to Amazon, will they be able to do sports betting as well as other interactive programming? We saw what they did with the Black Friday game last year with the NFL. You know they're going to get on Thursday Night Football. And you know they're going to get, next year, by the way, they will get one of the 2 Christmas Day games that Netflix will have this year. So it's going to be very interesting to see all these different situations. And one more thing, in terms of this contract. Will Roku be a surprise player? Remember that Roku now has a deal with NBCU to do an Olympic zone next month for the Olympics coverage. I believe they're also going to have an NBA Fast Channel next year, before the end of this year. So could NBC Universal, as part of this deal, allow Roku to come in and create an NBA zone on their home screen? So Roku could be a surprise winning player when this deal is announced. Keep in mind also, the exact payment may shift because of what is going on right now with the conference finals. And it's not very good news for the NBA. Both conference finals down double digits in viewership from a year ago. Playoffs overall going into the finals tomorrow, which start tomorrow night on ABC. 4.1 million viewers average. That's down 11% from a year ago.
Okay, well, I think that this is going to be the big story of the summer, without a doubt. And as soon as we get to the NBA draft coming up soon, we could have a new home for the NBA sooner than later. Now, as far as the ratings are concerned, Simon, let's dive into both the NBA and the NHL. I know the numbers, simply put, are saying that the NHL is doing very well, but why do you think that the NBA is taking a dip here?
Part of it has been the matchups. The fact that the Knicks did not make the conference finals, I think, hurt. In fact, Minnesota made the conference finals. That hurt because Minnesota is not a big market. Remember, in terms of the NBA, it's the major markets that count. It's New York, it's LA, it's Chicago. They were not involved this year. The Knicks were involved, but you did not have a Los Angeles team in it. You did not have a Chicago team in it. Those are the major markets. That's part of the problem. When the NHL, what is helping the ratings, even though the viewership is still minuscule, we're talking about 2 million people watching on average so far, which is still up about 20%, 25% from a year ago. The big change is you now have broadcast television running games. Remember, ESPN now has games running on ABC. This year, unlike last year, where the Stanley Cup Finals were on TNT the entire way, you have games, most of them, the final games will be on ABC. And I might say, too, that publicity has helped. ESPN and ABC have really done a major job in terms of their campaign to really promote the Stanley Cup playoffs all the way through, and that's something TNT did not do.
Okay. Now, the other story in sports media this week is surrounding the Pat McAfee show, where it was a very odd and bizarre way to discuss Caitlin Clark and the WNBA. There was a PowerPoint. There were some expletives used. What did you make of the sort of explanation and the delivery of the content when Pat McAfee was talking about Caitlin Clark, and the following day, which it appeared an apology came?
Well, I'll tell you, this is the first time in a long time that we have had a controversy like this really grow way out of proportion. And what Pat McAfee did, I'm not going to, by the way, I did see the full clip. The thing is, he added fuel to a fire that is just blazing for all the wrong reasons. I mean, we have seen this whole situation have issues of race and gender and entitlement throw in, which it shouldn't have been. The bottom line is Pat McAfee was wrong. He did apologize, even though on Monday Night Raw, the same night, he did use the same words again with Braun Strowman, who came into a match. One of the problems with this whole controversy, Craig, is the WNBA management has not gotten in and publicly said, hey, stop this stupid situation. And also what they should have done off the bat was for Candy Carter in the incident to fine her and suspend her for 1 or 2 games. But WNBA management has got to come in there and say something.
Yeah, a lot of controversy in the WNBA and nothing with the results of the actual games. You don't see this that often. All right, Simon, great to catch up with you. Thanks for coming into the studio today.
You're welcome, Craig. Take care.
We'll be right back.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Chicago is one of the top media markets in the country, so it makes some sense. But I gotta tell you, Philadelphia, not far behind. Cleveland, Ohio, not far behind. I would guess that precedent is now set.
They now would be paying, based on the last 12 months numbers, they'd be paying an additional $81.6 million in taxes.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. I'm Craig Mish. We got lots of topics to cover as we wrap up the show. The Stanley Cup Finals begins this weekend. A little baseball discussion. And, of course, Leo Messi has made an appearance on the show. It's time now for some last licks. We begin with the Stanley Cup Finals coming up this weekend. And, of course, the Stanley Cup Finals will be played in 2 different locations. Canada and the United States, Edmonton and Sunrise, Florida. Now, as a resident of South Florida and someone that is probably about 35 minutes away from where the Panthers play, I took a look just to see what the tickets were going for this weekend. And yeah, it's an all-time high, $600 to $700 in South Florida. Then I checked Edmonton. And according to TickPick, how about this? Game 4 of the Stanley Cup Final is the most expensive Oilers game on record. The average price, folks, to get in, not $600 or $700, which is just, by the way, outrageous, $1,100 to see a game, one game in Edmonton. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I looked it up, you can buy season tickets to the Oilers for less than that. But this one game, to buy a ticket is over $1,000. Edmonton, of course, playing for the Cup. They haven't done it in a long time. Florida was there last year. They think they have a great shot, by the way, to win this year after losing last year. So could be an epic final. We'll find out starting this weekend. Okay, now, the Arizona Diamondbacks over the last decade or so have had a shortstop by the name of Nick Ahmed. I don't know if you've ever heard of him before, but Ahmed, known as a glove-first shortstop, and has been with the organization for an extremely long time. I mean, you're talking about a historically long time to be with a team for almost 10 years. Unfortunately for Ahmed, the Diamondbacks last year, just before the start of the Major League Baseball postseason, decided to designate Ahmed for assignment, and he did not get the opportunity not only to play in the first round, the second round, he didn't even get a shot to play in the World Series. The Arizona Diamondbacks won the National League. Well, Ahmed signed in the offseason with the San Francisco Giants, and as they made their return to Arizona, they wanted to honor him by giving him his National League championship ring and do a nice little celebration on the scoreboard. It happens all the time. Ahmed said no thanks. Not too happy about the way that things went down last year. Now, the Diamondbacks did still do a welcome back thing on the scoreboard like they all did. But Ahmed basically saying you could keep your ring or just put it in the mail for the time being. So note to other Major League Baseball teams, if you cut one of your best players, or should I say one of your longest tenured players, don't expect them to come back and just give you a hug, or at least not initially. And finally, Leo Messi. My gosh, does he not make enough money that he's got to do something more here? All right, Leo Messi's got a new drink. It's called Mas Plus. He partnered with White Claw. You've heard of them before. And it's a huge money category, $33 billion. I'm sure you're familiar in your grocery store with Jake Paul's Prime, Gatorade. You've seen this before. I'm sure you've seen Powerade. You've seen Body Armor. So this is the new thing. It is called Mas Plus. It comes in 4 flavors: Orange Dior, Miami Punch, that makes sense, Berry Copa Crush, and Limon Lime League. Those are the 4 possibilities for you to purchase this drink, at least for the time being. Now, I'm more of a Gatorade drinker. That's been my go-to. I did go to Prime for a bit. It had a little bit, I think it has a little caffeine in it. And so it kind of like is one of those, like I have a cup of coffee every day, but like, do I want to have a second and third by drinking this drink? Probably not so much. So I'm sort of a stick to the Gatorade. Every once in a while I'll go Powerade, but maybe I'll give this Mas a try, or maybe not. Thanks again to Matthew Waters from Legal Sports Report and Matt Lutovsky from Sporting News. And of course, Simon Applebaum of the podcast tomorrow will be televised. We got to get out of here. Coming up next is the early line. Scott Farrell, coast to coast, 3 o'clock Eastern, followed by Game Time Decisions. Immediately after that, in-game live prime time. And then Gabe tonight on Sports Rage at 10 p.m. Eastern. That's our lineup. Take a screenshot. Any of our shows can be found on the SportsGrid app, which is completely free, or over at sportsgrid.com. And if you're streaming us on a free television channel, thanks for watching the show today. For my associate producer, Frank, and for my producer of the show, Michael Cohen, I'm Craig Mish. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. We'll be back tomorrow. The wait is over. The NBA Finals will begin tomorrow night. So you can bet that we'll have a preview of that and also find out the very latest at the Memorial as the PGA Tour resumes tomorrow morning. Have a great rest of your day. I'll see you tomorrow.